This has been a very interesting hearing. Mr. Waltz, welcome to Oversight. Yes, it usually gets like this. Look, let's be very clear. This isn't about Hunter Biden's white privilege. It's about Hunter Biden's Democrat privilege. Because Donald Trump Jr. showed up for 5 congressional subpoenas. There was never this circus where he was subpoenaed by House Democrats and he showed up on the Senate side or showed up at the White House to answer in some fake, phony, lame press conference, not actually going to the House and doing what he was compelled by a subpoena to do. Hunter Biden did that.
What you just witnessed was a glimpse of a masterclass in tearing down weak arguments with nothing but straight facts. Up next is one of the clearest examples of the battle for America's direction. On one side, you have voices like Byron Donalds, focused on applying the law fairly and standing on principle. On the other, figures like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her allies, who bend over backwards to protect their political circle and spin the narrative. This is the pattern we see play out every single day. AOC and the squad push their radical agenda, reshaping the country in ways that many believe are doing real harm. They rely on emotional appeals, distraction, and deflection to avoid accountability. But then someone like Byron Donalds steps up, cuts through the noise, and delivers plain, unfiltered truth right to their faces. As you watch this exchange, pay attention to the contrast. It's logic versus emotion, facts versus spin. If you're tired of the double standards and ready to see someone stand firm, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell, because this breakdown is one you don't want to miss. Let's dive into the full clip.
Look, let's be very clear. This isn't about Hunter Biden's white privilege. It's about Hunter Biden's Democrat privilege. Because Donald Trump Jr. showed up for 5 congressional subpoenas. There was never this circus where he was subpoenaed by House Democrats and he showed up on the Senate side or showed up at the White House to answer in some fake, phony, lame press conference, not actually going to the House and doing what he was compelled by a subpoena to do. Hunter Biden did that. And then he has the unmitigated gall to show up here when we know that we're going through actually the legislation for contempt with, by the way, Mr. Chairman, we should actually get to the legislation of contempt. The speechifying is great, but let's do our business, members. He has the gall to come here, show up, and then when the Democrats are saying, hey, he wants to speak, he leaves. This is a joke. This is a farce. The man has been subpoenaed by Congress. Oh, and by the way, the January 6th committee, Mr. Raskin, which you did sit on, by the way, that was not a normally ordered committee of Congress because Nancy Pelosi did not want the Republican members that then Leader McCarthy put up.
According to the courts, it was.
My time, sir.
Will you yield for a correction?
I was respectful of your time. I didn't say anything. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's move forward with our business. He should be held in contempt. There was a subpoena. He did not answer it. Any other American will be held in contempt by Congress. Any other. This is Democrat privilege of the highest order. Let's do our jobs. I yield.
Gentleman yields. Chair now recognizes Ms. Ocasio-Cortez from New York.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to address briefly, quickly, that moment about privilege and all of this that we're seeing here. It was a very beautiful speech. As also the Republican side had mentioned in their many raisings of the January 6th committee, that it's not just Hunter Biden, you, me, any individual subject to equal treatment under the law, to be held up to accountability under the law, but it is also these committees and this committee that is subject to oversight and law. We must comply with the law here as well. Now, I may be one of the very few people that actually believes in Congress, in this country. But I do, and many of us do here. And we have an obligation to engage in good faith participation to execute and comply with the subpoena. The chairman said in front of the country several times to Hunter Biden, you can show up here in front of the world, in front of the public. Hunter Biden took him up on that offer. He said, I will show up in public. I will show up in public. He showed up here today. He showed up here in the past. And Mr. Chairman, I know you do your best with what you've got, but you've got members here that have submitted falsified evidence to the record. You have members here that have submitted and mischaracterized closed-door hearings, and people want to say back and forth at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what party it's happened from. You've got members who've engaged in revenge porn in this committee. So it is understandable why Hunter Biden would want to testify in front of the public for the American people to be able to witness that testimony for themselves. You've got members who've defied subpoenas. You've got members who we are 1 year into the term asking what the rules are at the beginning of the committee. The book was given to us on day one. And so what we should do is allow the man to testify. I believe in the power of the Oversight Committee. Frankly, I believe in it regardless of whether Republicans or Democrats have the chair, because I believe that this committee should have the power of oversight, and we cannot do that on a partisan basis. And so for that, I implore this committee to allow Hunter Biden to testify publicly. I implore and I ask for that to happen. And we cannot do that by getting engaged in this back and forth on a defiance of the subpoena. Let him comply. Let him do it today. Let him do it tomorrow. But let the man do it. And with that, I yield back to the ranking member.
Thank you, Ms. Ocasio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of things. First, it was said in this hearing, Mr. Chairman, about you specifically, that you repeatedly said you would give Mr. Biden any opportunity. He could choose which one to come and speak in front of this committee. He could do it by deposition. He could do it by open hearing. It was up to him. The truth of the matter, though, is, members, is that the chairman's words are not binding. Like, no other member's words of Congress are really not binding. The binding article.
Point of order. Does the chairman agree with that? Point of order. Does the chairman agree?
Are you going to restore my time?
Point of order. Just point of order. Does the chairman agree that the chairman's words are not binding on the committee?
That's not a point of order. It has nothing to do with the order of this hearing. Thank you. Can I go back to 4 minutes and 34 seconds? That's where I was before I was interrupted by Mr. Raskin.
Yes, reset the clock.
Thank you. Thank you. What is binding is the actual written document, the written language in the subpoena, because a subpoena from this committee is also signed off on by the clerk of the House. That is the binding document that matters here. That is what governs. That's number one. Number two, that was said in this hearing. It was said that our witnesses said that there was no basis for an impeachment. But remember, members on the Democrat side of the aisle, what was said by Mr. Turley at the time was that there was plenty of evidence for the continuation of an impeachment inquiry. And the purpose of that hearing was the relevance basis for an impeachment inquiry. The House has now voted for an impeachment inquiry. And one of the first things that the House did after the vote of an impeachment inquiry was to subpoena Hunter Biden to appear. Hunter Biden has evaded that subpoena. So flagrantly did he evade it that he decided to show up at the Senate side to give a press conference, and Eric Swalwell, a member of the House, helped him get that time on the Senate side to give a press conference. That's a flagrant violation of a congressional subpoena. Secondarily, he has the gall to show up here when we're actually discussing contempt. And he didn't stay. He was sitting right over there. He's not here now. He said he wants to talk. He could have stayed through the whole proceeding. He chose to leave. That's his business. But he was subpoenaed to come here back in December. He chose not to of his own volition. He's in violation of that subpoena, a subpoena that was executed with the signature of the clerk of the House of Representatives. That is the document that is binding. That's what we work off of. Mr. Chairman, I actually want to submit for the record an article from The Hill written by Jonathan Turley, and it is titled Eric Swalwell and the Politics of Contempt.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you. I'm glad something got admitted to the record. Last, a couple other points. One quick point I want to make, and this is in reference to the minority's report about this $7.8 million. I want the minority to understand one very important distinction between Presidents Biden and President Trump. President Trump has an international real estate portfolio that he has amassed over decades. I'm quite sure if you go back through all of the hotel receipts before he was president of the United States, that you had foreign dignitaries staying at Trump hotels all across the world.
Will the gentleman yield?
I'm not going to yield, Mr. Raskin. I'm making a point because they're actually very nice hotels. They look good. People like staying there. President Trump was not running the Trump Organization when he was president of the United States. To my recollection, Eric Trump, the president's son, was actually running the Trump Organization when President Trump was president of the United States. So if he had a portfolio of hotels and people choose, through Expedia, through Kayak, through hotels.com, if they choose to go and stay there, how is that the president being in violation of what the emoluments clause? That's what you're citing? Stop. Ladies and gentlemen, America, this is ridiculous. The Biden family has no business. They've never had a business except for politics. And the one thing that the Oversight Committee, in conjunction with the Ways and Means Committee and in conjunction with the Judiciary Committee, has always been able to demonstrate is that they shook down foreign nations for millions, 26 million at the latest count and growing, millions. And there was never any business entity involved except public corruption and a pay-for-play scheme. We have questions for Hunter Biden. We issued a subpoena for him to answer said questions. He ignored a congressional subpoena as a private citizen. There are many attorneys on the other side of the aisle.
Okay, let's unpack that. Because honestly, where do we even begin? That was masterful. Byron Donalds set the tone from the very start. He didn't dance around the issue, he went straight for the heart of it. This isn't about white privilege, it's about Democrat privilege. Right there, he reframed the entire conversation and exposed the double standard that so many people see but few call out so clearly. He pointed out that Donald Trump Jr. complied with multiple subpoenas without hesitation. That single fact alone shatters the media's carefully crafted narrative. It's not about politics as usual, it's about a blatant two-tier system. Hunter Biden ignored a lawful subpoena and held a press conference instead. And how did Democrats react? They circled the wagons to protect him. It's a joke, just like Donald said. Then AOC jumps in, and it's straight from the radical left playbook. When you can't win on facts, you change the subject and go after character. Notice how she immediately pivots to talking about the majority party eliminating the Civil Rights Subcommittee. What does that have to do with Hunter Biden ignoring a legal order? Absolutely nothing. It's a classic deflection designed to paint her opponents as villains rather than address the issue at hand. Next, she tries to argue that a chairman's public comment offering Hunter the chance to testify in public somehow overrides a formal subpoena. That's either a shocking misunderstanding of how Congress works or a deliberate attempt to mislead. A casual remark is not legally binding. A written subpoena signed by the clerk of the House is. Period. And just when you think the argument couldn't get more off track, she brings up revenge porn and other unrelated allegations. Again, total smokescreen. None of that has anything to do with whether Hunter Biden ignored a lawful subpoena. It's a distraction, pure and simple. This is why so many Americans are fed up. Instead of addressing the issue, politicians like AOC perform. They change the subject, play the victim, and attack their opponent's character. But Byron Donalds didn't take the bait. His final response was a knockout punch. Calm, logical, and precise, he dismantled every single point she made. He clarified that the chairman's words don't override legal procedure. He exposed the hypocrisy. He laid out the facts. A subpoena was issued. It was ignored. End of story. That's how you win a debate. Not by yelling, not by theatrics, but by standing firm and letting the truth speak for itself. And if you thought that was powerful, just wait until you see him speak unfiltered. Up next is his CPAC clip where he gives a behind-the-scenes look at what it's like serving on a committee with AOC.
I serve on a committee with Ocasio-Cortez. Oh, you've heard of her. Okay. And she literally believes that we can print whatever we want. It doesn't matter how much we borrow. It doesn't matter how much we spend. But she can believe all that while she drives her nice little Tesla and lives in one of the most expensive apartments in Washington, D.C. You see, the left loves to deride capitalism, but they actually love capitalism. They love what it creates for them. But they want you and they want me and they want every hardworking American to bend the knee. But America has woken up and we have realized that we're not going down a socialist road and we're going to fight.
He's absolutely right. He sees this every single day. AOC and the squad genuinely act as if money is just some social construct, that you can print trillions with zero consequences. And the irony? She's saying all this while driving a Tesla and living in one of the most expensive neighborhoods in D.C. The hypocrisy is unbelievable. It's socialism for thee, but not for me. Meanwhile, leaders like Byron Donalds are on the front lines pushing back against an ideology that's bankrupting this country both morally and financially. It's honestly refreshing to watch someone who isn't afraid to call it exactly as it is. No spin, no sugarcoating, just plain truth. But here's what I want to know. Are we finally seeing more politicians grow a backbone and challenge the nonsense coming from AOC and the squad? Or was this just a rare moment of courage? Let me know what you think in the comments below. This was a crystal clear example of the fight we're in. On one side, you've got principled leaders like Byron Donalds armed with facts, logic, and respect for the rule of law. On the other, you've got performers like AOC who rely on misdirection, emotional theatrics, and baseless attacks to protect their allies and advance a dangerous agenda. The real battle for America's future is happening inside those committee rooms. And it's being won by people willing to stand their ground and speak the truth, even when it's not convenient for the mainstream narrative. Byron Donalds didn't back down. He didn't get rattled. He laid out the facts, and that's the kind of leadership we need more of. Thanks so much for watching this breakdown. If you want to see more content that cuts through the noise and showcases real conservative fighters in action, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear the truth. Until next time, stay vigilant.